Here's the part that I hated, if you want me to tell the truth. Hated this more than anything. Deshaun Elliott, the last person who should have been taking anything hard, really took this hard. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots on Penguins and Pirates. Cowboys 20, Steelers 17. And that ended this morning at Acrisure Stadium. Kickoff having been delayed till 9:45 p.m. by lightning storms in the area, and everything coming down to one play close to 1 in the morning. A fourth down, no less, near the Pittsburgh goal line. Dak Prescott looked across the Pittsburgh defense and saw nothing. Finally looked way over to his left, saw Jalen Tolbert intensely covered by Elliott. Beat him anyway. Perfect ball. Ben DeSantonio ball, just thrown where only one person could catch it and thrown in the only place where they could catch it. And that was it. That was the game. And yet, it wasn't the game at all. I had a talk with Elliott afterward, and he didn't want to hear any of my stuff about how the coverage was or how perfect the ball was, although he acknowledged that he'd tried his best and that Prescott's pass was his best and not his only perfect pass of the night, by the way. And he didn't really seem to want to hear any of this, and I respect that, believe me, until I said, you know what? No matter what you say here, this game wasn't lost on the last play. And he perked up at least a little bit with that and said, no, it wasn't. We had a lot of chances. And they did. They did. The offense had yet another chance to show it was for real. Didn't. Special teams had yet another chance to show that they can get through a game without committing a bunch of dumb penalties. Didn't. And the defense had more than one chance in that second half to just make a single stand against an opponent that had gotten almost nothing done on the ground to date, against an opponent that was missing key pieces on that side, and they didn't at all. And not in any phase. I could pick on them for all the yards that were conceded to a tight end, to CeeDee Lamb. These are part and parcel of facing someone of Prescott's deserved reputation. The Rico Dowdle stuff, no. Just every other handoff was just a gash. And Dowdle finished with 87 yards on 20 carries, which doesn't sound all that great, but they were sustaining drives when the Steelers could least afford to allow drives to be sustained. And of the 67,000 plus inside that stadium, they weren't even wondering at the end. They couldn't have been wondering at the end. And again, I stress not the very end, but the last couple of drives, those 2 Dallas touchdown drives, it was just gash after gash after gash. And if that didn't come with at least something of a familiar feel to it, I would just say, hey, bad night, Didn't have it. Go get him next week. Except that we've seen this on occasion. We've seen the run defense just not be there on occasion. Now, there have been adjustments in the second half, before this anyway, but there weren't any. There weren't any this time. It almost felt like they'd just kind of run out. They'd run out of players after losing a couple to injuries, notably Nick Herbig. But Herbig, you'll also recall, was supposed to be a weakness that the other teams could exploit when it came to the run. And they kept running. And DeMarvin Leal was the other one who went down. And that's not, respectfully here, that's not going to make much of a difference. So the people who were out on the field for this collective gashing were, for the most part, the people you'd want to have on the field. And they didn't stop it. And they couldn't stop it. The Steelers' offense, for all of its problems on this night, still got you the late lead. Still got you that touchdown on that inside little shuttle pass there from Justin Fields to Pat Freiermuth. Really nice stuff. Made up for a lot of not nice stuff. Not only that, but got you a lead in 17-13 where you could even concede a field goal and still be okay. And yet everyone in there knew that they wouldn't be. You could just sense it. There was stone silence at one point on Dallas's last drive. Like, it wasn't even the kind of noise that fans will manufacture, even if in a bad mood, to try to throw off the other team. It was just sitting there and waiting for the inevitable. Now, I'm going to do this. The names of the people populating this defense on those last two drives included TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick, but also Patrick Queen, Larry Ogunjobi, guys who've been there, who've done that, and who are supposed to be really, really good. Now, believe me, I'm not lumping TJ into anything here. TJ had another terrific game. My point is that none of the rest really rose to any occasion, figuratively or otherwise, when it came to stopping the run. And listen, I don't know if I'm going to be the first one to point this out, but if I am, I'm going to guess that I'm not going to be the last. Did you happen to notice a lot of Isaiah Loudermilk on this night, and especially in the second half? Did you happen to notice that he was out there when Landon Roberts forced that fumble that looked like it nearly won the game for the Steelers? On the next to last play, I asked Loudermilk about his reaction to how all that came down.
It's tough. I mean, that's just how this game is. It's a game of inches. Ball comes loose. We're almost there on it. It's just kind of how the game goes. Of course, we want it to fall our way, but tonight it didn't.
But you know why I asked Loudermilk? Yeah, he was out there. And you know who wasn't for some of that? That's right. Cam wasn't. He was rotating in a situation where in the past he'd never be rotating. I'm not going to be an idiot here and blame Cam either, any more than I am Elliott, but I am saying that whatever or whoever is causing this run defense to leak, that's got to stop, or everything else is a moot point. When we come back, J1Q. Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents injured people in automobile accidents, workers' compensation cases, and medical malpractice claims. The attorneys at Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George pride themselves in doing what they say they're going to do. It's important to them that when they make you a promise, they keep that promise. And this law firm has been keeping promises for over 80 years. Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George has been AV rated. That's the highest rating a law firm can receive for legal ability and ethics. And the lawyers at the firm have been designated super lawyers, that's a real thing, for over 15 years. Rare combination there. Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them at lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. Again, that's 888-842-5454. Today's J1Q comes from Dobie, who says, DK, when is it time to have a conversation about Minkah Fitzpatrick? Seriously, seems like nobody's talking about this. I don't know if nobody's talking about it or if everybody's talking about it. I kind of tend to keep my eyes on my own paper, But I did have a preview column on DK Pittsburgh Sports in which I challenged Fitzpatrick to, come up with some splash. He hasn't had a takeaway of any kind, whether it's a fumble recovery or the more common interception, or at least they used to be more common for him. The Steelers did have 2 picks and 3 takeaways last night, so I don't think generating splash was their overall issue. But it sure seemed like generating splash was the only way they could stop the Cowboys, who punted once, by the way. It was either give up points or take the ball away. That's not great, You want to have some boring 3 and outs in there as well. Now, I've long been a believer that turnovers in football, especially fumble recoveries, are more luck than they are anything else. Stripping the ball out for the fumble isn't. That's skill. That's something that you want to be doing on a regular basis. But the way the ball bounces, look, the way Landon Roberts said this to me last night, he was the one who knocked that football loose on third down at the goal line. And then Landon asked me who recovered it. And I said, I don't know. Some Dallas guy. He turned around. But his point was that he didn't see where the ball went. If it had bounced back toward him, that sure would have been a wonderful little stroke of luck. It didn't. Interceptions, the couple that the Steelers had last night, one was on a Dak Prescott overthrow that Joey Porter kind of Willie Maysed a route to get under. Another one was a gruesome underthrow by Prescott because he was feeling pressure from TJ. But Minka's not in the vicinity. You notice that Minka's not getting the ball thrown his way. Now, every defensive coordinator, and in fairness, they're probably right about this, will tell you that means teams know who he is. That means teams don't want to throw his way. That means we only have to defend half the field and whatever else. And you could see on the broken coverages down deep, a lot of those being Beanie Bishop's fault, by the way. And Minka wasn't taking away half of anything. Dak threw where he wanted to throw. But if you want a Minka stat that worries me, and hear me out on this, it's that he's the team's leading tackler, and he was the team's leading tackler with 10 in this game. I'm sorry, but you don't want your roaming wild card free agent who's supposed to be out there just sniffing interceptions for the greater glory of takeaways to be leading your defense in tackles, because it means one of two things. Well, no. It means two of two things. One, you're not doing nearly well enough in stopping the run, so you've got to have your safety up there bailing people out. And two, Bishop's just not ready at all to be an NFL slot corner, and you should be counting the days until that's Cam Sutton's job again. And thus Minka has to make a lot of tackles back there because of blown coverages by Bishop. That's the real problem. That's not excusing Minka. That's not letting him off the interception hook. All it's doing is boomeranging me back to the way today's episode started. Gotta stop the run. There's nowhere else to carry a dialogue. Not to Justin Fields, Najee Harris, George Pickens, whatever. Nowhere until you stop the run. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. Make sure, I mean this today, that you tune in for my double shot of Steelers. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern, in which I will be getting into the offense, and I will be getting into it in a way that you might not expect, and some of you might not like.